Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Ever since Sheikh Hasina has landed in India, New Delhi had one concern. What if the new regime in Dhaka seeks her extradition? Will India hand over its long-time partner Hasina or risk losing strategic space in Bangladesh? The question will have to be addressed soon because Dhaka may be asking for her to be sent back. We will look at India's options tonight. In the Russia-Ukraine war, Zelensky is making gains. More than 100 Russian soldiers have surrendered and Kiev is taking the fighting to Belgorod. Meanwhile, a new report says Ukraine was behind the Nordstream blasts. It cut off European energy supplies from Russia. Will Kiev's Western partners hold it accountable for this sabotage? In India, doctors are on strike over the Kolkata rape case and political leaders continue to make a spectacle of it. In Thailand, a new Prime Minister takes charge. We'll tell you all about Paetongtarn Shinawatra. The Mpox virus has spread beyond Africa. Cases have been found in Sweden and Pakistan. Are we facing another pandemic? The fees at MBA colleges are rising, but salaries remain stagnant, forcing students to ask, is that management degree even worth it? How Pakistan is trying to copy China's internet firewall, how Yoga Day pictures exposed India's nuclear strategy, and the story of the asteroid that killed dinosaurs. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Big news from India, Jammu and Kashmir to hold assembly election for the first time in a decade. The polls will be held in 3 phases beginning from September 18th. The results will be declared on 4th October. Jammu and Kashmir's special status was revoked in 2019. This will be the first election there since then. India to host the 3rd edition of the Voice of the Global South Summit. It will be held virtually tomorrow. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will deliver the opening remarks. Mohammad Yunus, the chief advisor of Bangladesh's interim government, will be in attendance. More than 100 developing nations took part in the previous 2 editions. Prime Minister Modi speaks to his Israeli counterpart, asking Benjamin Netanyahu to de-escalate the situation in West Asia. The call comes as the Gaza ceasefire talks continue in Qatar. Israel is also bracing for a retaliatory attack from Iran. The Netanyahu government says it expects its allies to attack Iran if Tehran strikes Israel. China says it supports the Myanmar junta's plan for election. The junta has promised to hold election but has repeatedly delayed it. In 2021, the military seized power in Myanmar. Since then, the Southeast Asian country has been in turmoil. Beijing is a major ally and arms supplier to the junta. Brazil and Colombia call for fresh elections in Venezuela. Last month, President Nicolas Maduro had won in a disputed election. US President Joe Biden has signaled that he would back such a move, but the White House has downplayed Biden's comments. Maduro has been in power in Venezuela since 2013. And a Kenyan town removes the controversial statues of its athletes. They were removed after a massive public backlash. The statues were intended to honor the region's sporting reputation, but they were criticized and ridiculed for their poor resemblance to the athletes. It's exactly what we feared. Bangladesh wants Sheikh Hasina to return, not to bury old differences, but to stand trial, to answer for her alleged crimes. And who's saying this? The new interim foreign minister of Bangladesh. He says a number of cases have been filed against Sheikh Hasina, so Dhaka will have to demand her return. Basically, they want to extradite Sheikh Hasina. Just one problem though, Hasina is still in New Delhi. Her son says that she is not seeking asylum anywhere. So if an official extradition request is made, the ball will be in India's court. And the foreign minister knows this. Listen to his statement. I'm quoting, "That creates an embarrassing situation for the Indian government. New Delhi knows this and I'm sure they will take care of it." Not exactly a positive statement. If you know it will embarrass India, why do it at all? Why not let it slide? Perhaps because of the domestic sentiment. The public in Bangladesh is demanding justice. More than 400 people were killed in the anti-Hasina protests. Their families blame the ousted Prime Minister for their deaths. At least 3 cases have been filed against her, and one of them is a murder case. 3 of her ministers are already in jail. They were arrested while trying to flee the country. Plus, Sheikh Hasina remains a volatile player. Consider what happened this week. Hasina released her first public statement. She asked her supporters to rally on the 15th of August. It's a national mourning day in Bangladesh. It marks the death anniversary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the country's founder, and Sheikh Hasina's father. And what happened on that day, 15th August? More violence. Hasina's supporters did gather to mourn Mujib, but they were attacked by other political parties. So the interim regime's logic is quite clear. If Hasina is at large, she can influence Bangladesh politics, which is why they may look to extradite her. Which brings us to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to Mohammad Yunus today. He voiced support for a stable and democratic Bangladesh. It was their first conversation since Yunus took charge. And what about extradition? India's foreign ministry was asked about this. The spokesperson called it a hypothetical situation. Listen in.
आपने जो बात किया एक्सट्रेडिशन का, तो ये तो बड़ा एक हाइपोथेटिकल सा सवाल है ना? तो इस पे हम लोग की हमारा ये कहना हुआ कि इट इज़ नॉट अ प्रैक्टिस टू आंसर हाइपोथेटिकल क्वेश्चंस.
It's clearly a tricky question. So let's understand what is at stake. The technicalities first. India and Bangladesh do have an extradition treaty, so a convict or an under trial can be sent across the border. We have the laws in place. But we have some exceptions. Say the convict is seeking asylum in India or she's considered a political prisoner, then extradition rules do not apply. You may think Sheikh Hasina fits that bill, but the fact is we don't know yet. The Indian government has not revealed her status. She could be a guest or a refugee or an asylum seeker. As of now, it is unclear. But frankly, this is not about the technicality. This will be a political call. India has 3 factors to consider. Number 1, you can't be seen as dumping a friend. India's relationship with Sheikh Hasina goes back decades. New Delhi gave her refuge in 1975. She stayed here after soldiers killed her family. You can't just flush that history down the drain. Plus, Sheikh Hasina faces serious charges. Murder is punishable by death in Bangladesh, and Hasina is accused of murder, so her freedom and life hangs in the balance. That's the first thing to consider. Factor number 2, resetting ties. India has a new strategic goal in Dhaka. Retain as much influence as possible and fend off Chinese or Pakistani designs. To do that, you need the new power brokers in your corner. If not, India may lose strategic space. Which brings us to the final factor, the impact on minorities. Prime Minister Modi spoke about this yesterday in his Independence Day speech. The status of Hindus is a big concern for India. Many of them have already been targeted. If India refuses to extradite Hasina, the attacks may intensify. Mobs may channel their anger at Hindus. So these are the 3 factors at play. I know it sounds like a tough situation. It is, but there is also a way out. And that is quiet diplomacy. Stop Dhaka from publicly talking about extradition or indeed filing a request. Also try to stop Hasina from releasing these statements. They don't help her or India. After that, it's a waiting game. Initial reports said that Hasina was looking for asylum in the UK or in Finland. If those moves succeed, problem solved. Once Hasina leaves Indian soil, it is not New Delhi's concern. Of course, all of this is easier said than done. It will take a lot of diplomatic maneuvering. And don't forget the optics. Hasina may be gone, but India is still the senior partner in this relationship, so New Delhi cannot be seen as being pushed around. It will be a tough tightrope walk for the Indian leadership. We'll be tracking all the updates for you. Ukraine's incursion in Russia is gaining momentum. The operation entered its 11th day today. Ukrainian forces are building on their gains. Kiev claims it now has a military office inside Russian territory. Listen in.
To maintain law and order and ensure the priority needs of the population, a military commandant's office was created in the controlled territories of Kursk region. Major General Moskalyov was appointed the head.
This is the area that they're talking about, the Kursk region. Ukrainian troops are now 35 kilometers inside the Kursk region. And how much territory does Ukraine control? More than 1,000 square kilometers. This includes 82 Russian settlements. So Ukraine is now on solid footing in Kursk. Its soldiers are expanding the operation. Their next target is Belgorod. As of yesterday, fierce fighting was still on there. Ukraine says it detained more than 100 Russian soldiers. This is their largest mass capture of Russian troops. A video too has come out. It was released by Ukraine's military. It shows the Russian troops surrendering. Russia is countering Ukraine's claims with videos of their own, like this one. Russia released these pictures from Belgorod. It is an attempt to show Ukraine in bad light, because here Moscow claims that Ukraine conducted airstrikes in the region and targeted civilians and their homes. Russia has since imposed a state of emergency in Belgorod.
The main goal of the state of emergency is to introduce additional security measures and additional support measures for those who have suffered. We hope that our plan will be implemented.
Zelensky wanted Russia to feel the war. He seems to be getting his wish. Moscow has ordered mass evacuations. Around 200,000 Russians have been moved from these regions. These were people living close to the Ukraine border. 2 lakh of them have been moved. Russia says it has managed to regain some of its lost territory, but this operation is not over yet. In fact, the fighting could intensify in the coming days. Moscow wants a swift end to Ukraine's campaign, so more Russian troops are being deployed here to flush out the Ukrainian army.
We are talking, first of all, about increasing the efficiency of the troop command and control system in interaction with other law enforcement agencies and the administration of the Belgorod region, about identifying responsible officials, as well as allocating additional forces and means that will be sent to carry out the main tasks.
So Russia is ready to fight this out. Is Ukraine prepared for a protracted battle inside enemy territory? Its forces appear to be stretched already. Moscow says it is making gains inside Ukraine. They've captured a key transport hub in eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Kiev's attacks have put its Western partners in a fix, like the United States, which appears to have been taken by surprise. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has made calls to Kiev to ask what's their end game with this operation.
You know, the secretary had a call with Minister Umerov yesterday. Throughout the department, we are engaging with the Ukrainians, trying to get a better understanding of their objectives. So I don't have more for you right now.
If Ukraine wants to continue fighting inside Russia, it will need more support from the West, and that is going to be tricky. Russia is preparing for the long haul. It is stepping up production of weapons. Reports say Russian arms producers are delaying deliveries to foreign clients. They are prioritizing supplies to Russian forces. Russia's ally China is also making moves. Interestingly, it has reached out to the Vatican, or it is talking to the Vatican. The Vatican reached out. Diplomats from both sides have spoken about the war in Ukraine and China's proposed peace plan. Like I said, the Vatican is said to have requested this call. And what is the Chinese peace plan that they discussed? It calls for a ceasefire in Ukraine and a negotiated truce to end the conflict. In the past, Vladimir Putin has endorsed the Chinese plan. But Ukraine and the West have been skeptical. Ukraine does not want to give up land to end this war, so Zelensky has rejected China's compromise formula. Instead, he offered an alternative. At the Peace Summit in Switzerland, the one that was held in June, it proved to be a non-starter though, because no one from Russia attended. They were not invited. So China too gave it a miss. And while India did send a delegation, it refused to endorse Ukraine's plan. The thing is, peace will require a compromise from both sides, and at this point, neither is ready for it. So they offer plans and counter plans and continue fighting. Now, Zelensky has taken the war inside Russia. Perhaps the idea is to build leverage to push his peace plan. And his forces have made some gains, but unless they can hold on to them, it won't amount to much. Our next story is also about Ukraine and Russia. It involves an investigation into sabotage and terrorism. It's about the 2022 Nordstream blasts. Some of you may remember what happened. You may remember these images from September 2022. These are giant gas leaks in the Baltic Sea. It was the largest release of natural gas ever recorded. The gas was leaking from two pipelines, the Nord Stream 1 and 2. These two pipelines connected Russia to Germany. Western Europe received natural gas from Russia via these pipelines. But in September 2022, the pipelines were blown up. And we still don't know who was behind it. Who did it? Was it Russia? Was it Ukraine? The US? Aliens? 1,000 theories were doing the rounds, but we never really discovered the truth. But now, almost 2 years since the explosions, we have another lead. A new report has come out laying out a new theory. This one points fingers squarely at Ukraine. I'll give you a quick overview. The plot was apparently hatched in May 2022. The war was on in full swing. Kiev had Western support, but it came with some disclaimers. Europe would help Ukraine, but it would continue buying Russian gas. Germany in particular. It was dependent on the cheap Russian fuel. And Germany received it directly via the Nord Stream pipelines. So some Ukrainians decided to make Germany and the rest of Europe kick the habit, quit it, cold turkey. How? By blowing up the source of their cheap fuel, the Nord Stream pipelines. They decided to blow them up. The new report says Ukraine blew up the pipelines and that everyone in Kiev was on board, including the country's president, Volodymyr Zelensky. In fact, he's the one who gave the go-ahead. So a plan was set in motion. A 6-member crew was chosen to carry out this attack. It had both military personnel and civilians, expert divers who would lay explosives near the pipelines. This sabotage crew pretended to be a group of friends. They rented a private yacht and set sail from the German port of Rostock. The yacht made its way across the Baltic. In the dead of night, amid freezing temperatures, the crew members dived into the depths of the Baltic. They placed an explosive on the pipelines, an explosive called HMX. These bombs were attached to time detonators. They were placed on both the Nord Stream pipelines, and then the crew continued their yacht trip. They left. Eventually, on September 26th, the bombs went off at two different locations. Both Nord Stream pipelines were damaged, and Russia's grip on Europe was loosened. This is what the new report says about the operation. But more interesting than the method is the politics. Apparently, Zelensky later tried to call off the attack. The report says that America's CIA got wind of the plot and they told Zelensky to abort the mission. So he allegedly tried to stop it. He told his army chief to hit the brakes. But by then it was too late. The Ukrainian army had cut contact with the sabotage crew, so nothing could be done to stop them. At least this is what the new report claims. Meanwhile, the German police have also been investigating this attack, and they issued an arrest warrant last month for a Ukrainian diving instructor who was living in Poland. He is thought to be one of the civilians involved in the attack. His arrest would have helped with the German probe. But then another twist took place. Poland apparently chose not to act on the arrest warrant. and the Ukrainian diver was allowed to flee the country. He is thought to have made his way back to Ukraine, where the German police will not be able to touch him. This would have also tipped off other suspects. So all of them, all the suspects, are thought to be back in Ukraine now, meaning the German probe might get stalled, but it all points fingers to Ukraine. Although we may not be able to verify the new theory. Of course, we've already got the denials from the key players. Ukraine says it has nothing to do with the explosions. It has blamed Russia. Yes, that was to be expected. But surprisingly, Russia too has panned this new theory. It says Ukraine would not have attacked without American approval. So Moscow has denounced the theory for saying that the CIA tried to stop the attack. Russia says these are, and I'm quoting, these are fairy tales worthy of the brothers Grimm. The Kremlin believes that both the US and the UK are involved in the attack, an accusation that both nations have also denied. The question now is, if Ukraine is indeed found guilty, will it be held accountable? This is an act of sabotage. It caused so much hardship for ordinary Europeans. So will the US and its allies hold Ukraine to account, or will they give it a free pass? Will a terrorist act be condemned only if a Western rival commits it? If Ukraine is really guilty, then this case will show the world the West's true colors. The protests continue in India. Doctors are holding candlelight vigils, women's groups are marching on the streets, and our politicians doing what they do best, turning a tragedy into a spectacle. We'll come to that in a bit. But first, the latest updates. Protests began after the horrific incident in Kolkata last week. A 31-year-old doctor was raped and murdered, that too at her medical college. Since then, doctors have been protesting across India. They're demanding justice and safety. Tomorrow, they will be striking work. India's largest doctors' body has announced a strike. That's the IMA, the Indian Medical Association. Now, the IMA has around 400,000 doctors. So expect a nationwide strike. All non-essential services will be halted from Saturday morning to Sunday morning. And so far, the pressure has been relentless, both from doctors and women's groups. They have been marching and protesting across major cities, and today was no different. Take a look.
What we studied for. हमने entrance exam crack करे हैं ये protest करने के लिए नहीं. We are very happy working at our hospitals. Please give us the safety so we can go work at our hospitals.
Justice. Justice. Justice to ladies. Justice denied. We want justice.
Some of these protests did not go well. We told you about that yesterday. Goons vandalized the college where this crime happened in Kolkata. They attacked doctors and destroyed the emergency room. Kolkata police are hunting them down. So far, 25 people have been arrested. And what about the murder investigation? Well, the CBI is handling that, the Central Bureau of Investigation. And they have many leads to follow. The victim's family says her colleagues may have been involved. Some interns and doctors at the college may have been involved. I'm sure the CBI will follow that up. In fact, they have already summoned 5 doctors for questioning, which brings us to the politics. Today, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee organized a march. She herself walked at the front of it. And what did she want? Death penalty by next Sunday. Basically, 1 week to probe, prosecute and convict. Now, don't get us wrong. All of us want swift justice for that young woman. But let's not ignore the reality. No court can deliver such quick justice, not even fast-track courts. So this is not about getting justice. This is about getting political mileage. And the other side is doing it too. Whether it's spreading fake news about the incident or blaming people without evidence, such selfish moves do not help anyone. They only make a bad situation worse, and this is a very bad situation. Just think about it. A young doctor was raped and murdered inside a hospital. If a doctor is not safe inside a hospital, where are they safe? If a doctor is not safe in a hospital, who is safe? Just look at this report. Around 75% Indian doctors have faced some sort of violence at work. That's 3 out of 4 doctors. How can we prevent this? The central government has issued a new directive. It puts the onus on the hospital head. Imagine you run a government hospital in India. A doctor has been attacked on your watch. Then you must file an FIR within 6 hours. The responsibility is not on the doctor who was attacked. It's not on the bystanders. The responsibility lies with the hospital head. It is a good move because right now a lot of attacks go unreported. So this new directive should help, but it's not enough. You can't just focus on redressal here. You must focus on prevention too. How can we stop these attacks in the first place? The doctors already have an idea. They've been demanding a Central Protection Act. It was first drafted in 2019. It mandates strict punishment for assaulting doctors, up to 10 years in jail, plus up to 10 lakh rupees fine. The idea was to deter attackers with strict punishment. But the government did not pursue it. They said a separate law for doctors was unnecessary. But now that bill is back in focus, the Indian Medical Association is pushing for it again. They say a hospital should be as safe as an airport, and we have to agree. One law alone may not solve the entire problem, but it's a start. We can't just protest, politicize, and procrastinate. We must be proactive. Safety at the workplace must be non-negotiable. The year was 2004. Thailand's Prime Minister was Thaksin Shinawatra. He dropped in at a McDonald's. He was there for a takeaway. The visit made headlines. Do you know why? Because serving him was a 17-year-old, Paetongtarn Shinawatra, the Prime Minister's youngest daughter. Today, she has become Thailand's youngest Prime Minister.
I decided that it's about time to do something for the country and for the party as well. And I hope that I can do my best to, make the country go forward. That's what I try to do. And right now, of course, today I feel very honored and I feel very happy.
The appointment wasn't an easy one, though. The last 2 weeks have been rough for Thai politics. First, the most popular party was dissolved. Its leaders were banned from politics, and then the Prime Minister was removed from office. Thailand plunged into chaos. There was political uncertainty and a vacuum to fill. For 24 hours, there were frantic negotiations. Today, the Thai parliament voted. Paetongtarn Shinawatra got a majority.
Paetongtarn Shinawatra received more than half of the votes from the members of the House of Representatives. Therefore, the Parliament has approved the motion to nominate her for appointment as Prime Minister.
So who is Paetongtarn Shinawatra? How did she enter Thai politics and what challenges does she face? Paetongtarn Shinawatra is 37 years old. She belongs to the Phua Thai party. She's the second woman to lead the nation. And she's not new to politics. We told you about her father, Thaksin Shinawatra. He's a billionaire, a former prime minister, and one of Thailand's most influential figures. Thaksin ruled Thailand from 2001 to 2006. He was ousted in a military coup. But his family continued to dominate Thai politics. In 2008, Thaksin's brother-in-law became prime minister. It was for a short while. Then in 2014, his sister became the country's leader. That makes Paetongtarn the fourth member of this family to become prime minister. She goes by the nickname Ang Ing. She studied in Thailand and the UK. Then she worked in her family's business empire, but she's grown up in the corridors of power and suffered the consequences of it. When she was 8 years old, her father became foreign minister. She followed him everywhere. When she was 20, she found herself in a safe house with him. The army had seized power, Thaksin's government had fallen, and she was hiding with her family. At the age of 22, she watched her father leave the country. All of this had an impact on her life. But she did not shy away from politics. In 2021, she joined his party, the Phua Thai Party. In 2023, she led the party's election campaign. She was pregnant then and she was campaigning non-stop, but her party did not win the election. And just 1 year later, here she is as the Prime Minister of Thailand. It is quite a story, and it will have more twists, because this won't be an easy ride for Paetongtarn Shinawatra. She has a lot at stake. The first is the future of her family. The Shinawatra family once dominated Thai politics, but last year it faced its first election defeat in more than 2 decades. Then they have some bitter enemies, a mix of military, royalist and business elites. So she must protect the legacy. The other big challenge is the Thai economy. It is sluggish. The party is yet to deliver on its flagship scheme, the digital wallet cash handout scheme. So sliding popularity, a tanking economy and a volatile political environment. Paetongtarn has a task cut out. With the Shinawatra in power again, the expectations are oversized. She must navigate this carefully to avoid the fate of her father. Countries discovering new cases, nations screening arrivals, and the WHO sounding a warning. If all of this sounds familiar and alarming, you're not alone. It's been a year or two since we recovered from the global pandemic, but should we be preparing for another one? The virus in focus this time is Mpox. It's usually endemic to Africa, but right now it's spreading across the globe. Pakistan has logged a case, so has Sweden. Is India at risk too? In fact, wherever in the world you're watching us from, should you be worried? Our next report tells you.
PHEIC, a public health emergency of international concern. That's what the WHO is calling the Mpox outbreak. Pakistan has logged its first case. It was in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
The health department is ensuring all measures regarding prevention, control, management and facilities. We have alerted our border health services teams at the borders to check all the passengers and screen them for any symptoms. Any suspected patients found will be isolated and managed in Peshawar.
So has Sweden. China will screen its arrivals. If this is sounding like déjà vu, you're not wrong. Will this turn into a pandemic? Should the world be alarmed? And how dangerous is Mpox? First, let's look at the virus. Mpox was first discovered in 1958. It was in a colony of monkeys. It was known as monkeypox before. In 1970, it was documented for the first time in a human, an infant in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Outbreaks were mostly sparked by people catching the virus from infected animals. Symptoms include fever, muscular aches, and large boil-like skin lesions. Until recently, it was mostly an endemic in Africa, but that changed in 2022. It spread across the globe. The WHO declared it a public health emergency of international concern. That was lifted in 2023. From 2022 to 2024, there have been over 99,000 cases of Mpox and 208 deaths recorded across 116 countries. Now, there are two subtypes to the virus, Clade 1 and Clade 2. Unlike the 2022 global outbreak, the latest surge is driven by the Clade 1, which is deadlier. Plus, it has a mutated variant, Clade 1b. It causes death in nearly 4% of cases. So, if it has been a public health emergency before, why the panic now? It's because of this variant. It seems to be spreading rapidly and very little is known about it. It moved from DR Congo to Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi and Kenya, and then outside Africa's borders. So, what happens now? Do we lock down again? The WHO says there's no need right now.
From the IFRC side, we do stand with what is recommended under international health regulations, which is that there's no need to close borders when we are in disease outbreaks. Diseases don't recognize borders. People will continue to cross a border, whether it is a legal crossing or an illegal crossing. It doesn't stop a disease from spreading.
So how big is the risk for India? With global travel at its peak, cases are likely to reach other countries. During the 2022 outbreak, India too reported cases of Mpox, so it could happen this time too. Which brings us to the cure. How do you treat Mpox? Are there vaccines? Currently, at least 2 vaccines are in use. They are recommended by the WHO. But the available vaccines have largely not been made available in Africa, those most affected by Mpox. But there is a plan to secure 10 million vaccine doses for Africa. As for how worried you should be, Mpox is not COVID-19. It's not airborne. There are also proven vaccines. While all of this will help to stop its spread, the challenge now is getting the medicines and vaccines to Africa, the continent that needs it the most.
Now let's talk about MBAs. Here in India, MBAs have a cult of their own, especially if you're a graduate from a big B school. I'm talking about the IIMs. The Indian Institutes of Management, they represent the cream, the best of the best. Every year, lakhs of students try to win a place in a well-respected MBA program. The competition is cutthroat. There are just a handful of seats and so many young Indians vying for them. But are these elite institutions losing their sheen? We ask because companies are no longer willing to pay top dollars for MBA graduates. The pay packages have stagnated. Let me show you some numbers, and we are taking the case of IIM Ahmedabad as an example. It has long been rated as the best B school in the country, but that tag is not translating into bigger paychecks, it seems. In the past 2 years, pay packages for graduates have stayed nearly the same, around 31 lakh rupees per year. This was the median pay, 31 lakhs per year, meaning most students were offered salaries around this number, 31 lakhs. That's the ballpark number. Now, a lot of people may find this a great number. It may sound like a great number to a lot of Indians. It's way higher than the average Indian salary. In 2021, 65% of Indian taxpayers earned between 0 to 5 lakh rupees a year. Compared to that, a pay package of 31 lakhs puts you among the top earners in the country. So why is it a problem? It's a problem when you consider how much you're spending on the degree in monetary terms alone. An MBA from IIM Ahmedabad is not cheap. The 2-year course now costs almost 27 lakh rupees, and this is just the course fee. As a student, you'll have other expenses like books, stationery, other living expenses, and if you're not from the city, you'll have to pay for travel as well. So by the time you're finished with the course, the bill will be way higher than 27 lakhs. And when you go looking for a job, you'll be offered a pay package of around 31 lakhs. So the cost of the course is going up, but the salary after it is not going up. In IIM Ahmedabad, the course fee has gone up by almost 1 lakh rupees every year, but pay packages have not grown at this pace. And like I said, this is just one example. This trend is not limited to IIM Ahmedabad. It's the story of most MBA colleges today and most MBA courses today. The course fee is high, but the return on investment on this MBA degree seems to be diminishing. The pay packages are stagnant. In fact, in schools like IIM Bangalore, IIM Indore and IIM Lucknow, the median pay packages have fallen. And these are India's best B schools, out of reach for most students. Most elite institutes have fees ranging from 10 to 25 lakhs and no guarantee of a job. In that respect, the IIMs are definitely better off. Their graduates have a better chance of getting placed. They maintain an almost 100% recruitment rate. What about the rest? Those who spend so much money on an MBA, the odds aren't in their favor in a lot of cases. Consider this statistic. Only 1 out of 4 MBA graduates in India is employable. 1 out of 4. Which is why a lot of students seem to be having second thoughts. Is that MBA degree even worth it? The question is being asked. In fact, around the world it's being asked. In India, it is still seen as a golden ticket, though, to a better life and a bigger bank balance. It also elevates your social status. Don't take my word for it. Check out the matrimonial sections of newspapers. Notice how many parents want an MBA in a match. They view it as a safe bet. And to be fair, it is not all bad. The IIMs are still centers of excellence. They have produced some of the world's best CEOs. Their students have gone on to lead some of the world's biggest companies. So the current trend is not really a reflection on the quality of their education or students as much as a reflection on the job market. It's in a flux, facing multiple disruptions, leaving many graduates without a job, wondering if their degree was worth the effort and the price tag. Now let's look at India's noisy neighbour Pakistan. It seems the government there is trying to strangle basic freedoms by throttling the internet. Over the past few days, Pakistan's social media platforms have been erratic, internet speeds are almost non-existent, and the nation's IT industry is in an uproar. They say Pakistan's government is meddling with internet access. Now you may think that's absurd. In this day and age, which country in its right mind would try and disrupt something so vital? Why would anyone, especially an impoverished nation like Pakistan, want to shatter an economic lifeline like the internet? Well, in Islamabad, fear trumps reason. Pakistan's government fears dissent and mockery online, so it's taking a leaf out of China's book and trying to build a great firewall around the internet. Not to keep danger out, but to trap dissent within. Here's our report.
What the people of Pakistan long suspected has proven to be true. The Pakistani government has made an admission. A minister acknowledged that the government has been operating a web management system and the system is now being upgraded. What this really means is that Islamabad is getting ready to raise its very own internet suppression system, the Great Pakistani Firewall. The term the Great Firewall usually applies to Pakistan's so-called iron brother, China. Think about how the internet works in China. No anti-government content. So nothing about real historical events like the 1989 massacre at Tiananmen Square. There's also no making fun of politicians in China. And of course, China doesn't allow most foreign websites and apps. So instead of Facebook, you have Weibo. Instead of YouTube, you have Youku. And instead of WhatsApp, you have the overclocked WeChat. China has created its own ecosystem and shoved it down the throats of its citizens. This internet localization and rejection of everything that's not government approved is colloquially known as the Great Firewall of China. Well, now, Pakistan wants to go down the same path. It starts with tracking and censorship. Pakistan is cracking down on virtual private networks or VPNs. The government wants people to stop evading its oversight. It's bringing in a new policy to block most VPNs. Security concerns be damned. Then comes the crackdown on data sharing. The internet in Pakistan has been slow over the last few days. Social media platforms could barely function. There was chaos all around. Why? Because Pakistan was testing out its firewall. Islamabad was testing out its ability to block unwanted content. Unwanted by whom? The powers that be, of course, which means the Pakistani military establishment and the puppet politicians it worked so hard to install. Basically, the noose is being tightened around dissent and satire in Pakistan, which was always going to happen in a military-backed kleptocracy. But the surprising thing is, the establishment doesn't care about who gets caught in the crossfire. The country's IT professionals are begging the government to stop. The internet is their lifeline, and a strangled and slow internet means lost clients and revenue. One IT industry association has issued a statement. It said that Pakistan may lose at least $300 million due to all this internet interference. 300 million USD. That amount could delay Pakistan's next IMF bailout by a whole month. But it seems Islamabad doesn't care. Loans will come and go. Mostly come. But control is far more important. And to that end, it seems that Pakistan is planning another masterstroke. It's rolling out a local messaging app called Beep. This could be Pakistan's alternative to WhatsApp, like WeChat is for China. But let's face it, probably worse. VPN blocking, content restriction, and beep. This trifecta will complete Pakistan's very own firewall to keep the world out and the Pakistani people in.
What's funny but involves nuclear weapons? Our next story. It's about how yoga exposed India's nuclear revamp. I know it sounds confusing, so let me explain. India can launch nukes from 3 platforms, from air, from land, and from the sea. Tonight we're looking at the last one. India's sea-based nukes were placed on 2 warships, INS Subhadra and INS Suvarna. Both are offshore patrol vehicles. You can easily differentiate them from India's other patrol ships. Just look at this satellite picture. Subhadra and Suvarna have a special structure on deck, a missile stabilizer. It helps them launch nuclear weapons. Other patrol ships do not have it. So the difference is clearly visible. Now we come to the interesting part. An American non-profit says the nukes have been removed. The non-profit is called FAS. It stands for Federation of American Scientists. They say Subhadra and Suvarna are not nuclear capable anymore. How do they know? Because of yoga pictures. Take a look.
So over the past couple of years, the Indian Navy has been posting yoga pics when it goes and makes port visits in different countries by matching the deck markings on the aft deck to satellite imagery. This shows us is that these ships, which used to have nuclear capable missile systems on them, no longer have those systems. This is an advertisement to avoid posting your workout pics. Otherwise, a big nerd will find them and make assumptions about your nuclear arsenal.
The first clue came in 2022. The Indian Navy posted this picture on Yoga Day, and look at the caption. A yoga session on board INS Suvarna. You can see all the sailors doing yoga poses on deck. But do you know what's missing? The missile stabilizer to launch nukes. The second clue was dropped this year. Another yoga picture, this time from INS Subhadra. Again, guess what's missing? The same missile stabilizer, which is why the American agency says the nukes have been removed. Now, just to be clear, this is not really a gotcha moment. Most experts expected this to happen. Even the American report admits this. Listen to what they've said. Although the yoga-related source of the news may have been surprising, the missile's retirement in itself was not. For years, we have assumed that the system would be eliminated. So where are the missiles now? Well, the Defense Ministry has not said anything, so the missile's current location is not known. Maybe it is heading back to the stockpile. As for capabilities, do not worry. India has a nuclear-armed submarine now, the INS Arihant. It is capable of carrying ballistic nuclear missiles. These can hit targets over a distance, which is very different from nukes on patrol ships. Those have very short ranges, meaning you have to sail close to the enemy to strike. So submarines are better any day. A second sub will be launched later this year. 2 more will follow towards the end of this decade. So the yoga expose actually confirms India's new nuclear posture, more effective and more lethal. But you have to admit the source is funny. An online post giving away military strategies. However, it's not a first. Have you heard of Strava? It's a fitness app used by millions of people. In 2017, they uploaded a heat map of all activities logged. Once again, military nerds got to work. They used this data to identify secret US bases, and the logic was easy. Who would be using Strava in the middle of the Afghan wasteland or remote Syrian mountains? The answer was American soldiers. They stood out as bright spots in the middle of nowhere. Australia too faced something similar. In 2016, they organized a special military exercise. Many of the participants used social media during that period. Again, cue the military nerds. They used social media posts to identify 680 soldiers, their location, their equipment, even their deployments. You don't need fancy equipment to do any of this. You just need open source data. Maybe some soldiers turned on location tagging, or maybe they liked a friend's photo, or maybe commented on a post. If you have a keen mind, you can unearth it. Of course, rivals will see it differently. They're looking closely to find any weakness in your ranks. So you can't afford such slip-ups. The Indian military knows this too. In 2016, they issued an advisory. They asked citizens to not post information about deployments. Maybe it's just a selfie with a tank or a close-up with a gun. But the diktat is, don't do it. Let's hope such slip-ups do not happen again. Our last story tonight is about a 66 million year old murder mystery. 66 million years old. When an asteroid hit the Earth and the world changed in an instant. The impact was so big that shock waves radiated across seas. The world was on fire. There was a long winter, and this was the conclusion. 60% of all life on Earth died, including the mighty dinosaurs. So we know what happened. We also know who was the culprit. But where did this asteroid come from? Millions of years later, scientists finally have the answer, and it is still baffling them. Here is the story of the asteroid that killed dinosaurs.
The Mayans have a word called Chicxulub. It strikes fear in people's hearts because, as the lore goes, Chicxulub means tail of the devil. It's considered a bad omen. So it's not surprising that today, Chicxulub is the site of one of the world's oldest murder mysteries. But don't worry, the incident happened 66 million years ago. This is the Chicxulub crater. It's located in Central America. It was formed when a massive space rock slammed into Earth. The asteroid was roughly 10 kilometers wide. It kicked off a global heat pulse along with a huge dust storm, and then a long winter. It wiped out 60% of all life. It ended the reign of the mighty dinosaurs. Look at this big guy. That's what killed him. An asteroid. What's it called? Due to sheer lack of creativity and the desperate need for clarity, this apocalyptic object is known as the Chicxulub impactor. And it continues to pose a number of questions. But possibly the biggest question is this. Where did the asteroid come from? After millions of years, scientists finally know the answer. This oddball was not orbiting nearby, it had journeyed across our solar system. It mapped a strange collision course and reached Earth, all the way from beyond Jupiter. And this is quite strange because it's so rare. Most meteorites that end up on Earth come from closer to the Sun. They belong to what's called the siliceous family. But this impactor belongs to the carbonaceous family, the family of asteroids that has high carbon content. Carbonaceous asteroids are formed beyond the orbit of Jupiter. They are concentrated between Mars and Jupiter. They are so far from the Earth that they rarely pay the planet a visit. But Chicxulub made an ill-fated exception. So how do we know that this asteroid is carbonaceous? Because its crater has a rare element called ruthenium. It's a rare metal, it's extremely scarce on Earth. So when a tiny amount of the element was found in the crater, scientists connected it to the carbonaceous asteroid, unveiling its origin. The next big question is, why did the asteroid come so far to collide with Earth? Scientists aren't sure yet, but one explanation is that the early solar system did not work like it does now. Its gravitational pull could have been unstable. So it launched the asteroid towards dinosaurs and ruined their perfectly good day. But this theory has not been proved yet. Many mysteries remain about the so-called Devil's Tail. But one thing is certain. The Chicxulub impactor may get a bad rap because it wiped out an entire species, but it also helped seed the Earth with water. It gave us other crucial ingredients for life. It may have doomed the dinosaurs, but it also gave us mammals. So humans have much cause to celebrate this new finding.
Here's a question for all the couples out there. Would you make a statue for your better half? Not just any statue, a bluish-green one draped in a metallic robe. Honestly, it's a bit much. Gen Z would definitely call it cringe. But Mark Zuckerberg has done it anyway. He's made a statue for his wife, and I'm surprised he had the time between fumbling in Congress and stealing our data. How did he manage it? Well, thank his PR team for this. Zuckerberg was once the poster boy of weird tech bros, fidgety, fumbling and robot-like, but now he's turning it around. Whether it's surfing with the American flag or martial arts training, it's the ultimate unnerding in history.
This is Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. Can you hear me okay?
You're human, and I was human.
What? Another one.
But enough with the fun and games. It's time for everyone's favorite. Work.
Now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Eastern Bolivia grapples with rising forest fires. Wild beast migration draws scores of tourists to Kenya's Masai Mara, and floating bathtubs battle it out in the Belgian regatta. Finally taking you back in history, on this day in 1858, the first transatlantic telegraph message was sent. Britain's Queen Victoria sent this message to US President James Buchanan. Technical issues forced it to shut down after a few months. We are leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.
No han podido hacer nada. Desastre total, señor.
To inaugurations. If it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired.
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.